Hey there, welcome to the show. My name's Todd Watley. I am your host. Today's show is going to be more about legal stuff than financial stuff. And my guest today is Michaela Monaco. Hey, Michaela, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Michaela is an attorney in my office, and she's a new attorney. Okay, she just graduated from school and started working for us, and so I thought I would have her on the show today. I've been doing this forever. Okay, I've been doing this for almost 27 years, and so at this point, nothing's really new to me, and I'm like, I forget what I knew before law school, what I know now, and so I thought I would have Michaela on today to talk about kind of going from law school to practicing law and some of the things, and particularly about elder law. Okay, the very specific thing we do is elder law. So welcome. So tell me, what are some of your first impressions about going from law school to working in a law firm?
I think probably the biggest transition has been being so client-focused. Mm-hmm. Law school is a lot of individualized time. It's hours upon hours of studying and coursework, and the only person that you kind of have to depend on is yourself to get things done. Sure. Where in a working environment, each client has a different problem, and you have to work as a team. It's much less efficient to take an individualized approach. So I think that in the past few months that I've been working, the merrier on cases, and that's very different than law school. So
okay, so what you learned in school was these specific fact patterns and things like that. Mm-hmm. Has any case followed any of those fact patterns that you've seen?
Not one. Okay. Not one. Law school is very good about saying these are the 2 or 3 most popular factual situations. Here's how to handle them as an attorney. Mm-hmm. And then you get to practice. I haven't seen one of those fact patterns. So it's like for 3 years I'm like, okay, I can spot this. And then in real life, nothing ever goes like that. There's, especially in elder law, there's family, there's kids, there's, mixed situations that law school does not, it's not black and white like law school prepares you for. So that's definitely been an adjustment is, figuring out the work ethic, figuring out how to work together as a team and tackling, different client problems that I have never seen before. Yeah,
I think what surprises me, you mentioned family and kids and things, and then there's money. Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. We're helping families figure out what they want to do with their life savings, where they want it to go. And in those cases when it's like, oh, just equally between the kids, everything's fine, our family is lovely, that needs work too, but mm-hmm. that's pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this for 27 years now, and I think the money issues of saying, okay, here's our situation, mm-hmm. and we don't want the money to be equally divided. There's very good reasons we want this to happen, or we want to protect this from this person. I think that's where things get really interesting, and it's what wakes me up every day, mm-hmm. that I don't get bored. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so talk about that, some of the situations you've seen that have, mm-hmm. You've been like, oh God, mm-hmm. they didn't teach us this in law school.
I think something that caught my attention about elder law from the start is that with elder law and estate planning, you're looking to the future, and you're looking, how can I protect my clients for the future and lead them down a path that will protect their assets, that will protect them as they need Medicaid planning, long-term care. A lot of the work of being an attorney is looking at past laws and how do we apply past laws to current situations. Mm-hmm. And I think when I first took wills in law school, that's kind of what started my engagement with elder law. That's what interested me. A lot of the work that we do is sitting at tables and planning for the future. And, we always say we don't have a crystal ball, but how can we kind of guide in certain situations? And with law school, not all, but a majority of my other classes are, let's look at how this was treated in the past. Elder law and elder care, estate planning, there's not a ton of past because it's such a new area. So I think that's something that's really interesting about our everyday is that it's always new problems, it's always new situations, and there's variations of what can be happening in the future. So that's kind of the fun in figuring it out is, the road hasn't been written yet.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of attorneys across the country and teaching them how to go from just being general practice or whatever law they're doing now to being elder law attorneys. And I think one of the things that they're surprised by is the focus on specific documents. And I like to tell them, and every time that I speak, I want people to understand, people think a lawyer is a lawyer is a lawyer, okay? A lawyer graduates law school and all lawyers know the same thing. And elder law is one of those things that when I went to school, they taught nothing about elder law. And I know you've even gone to a school that had some internships and elder law things going on. Did it prepare you to do what you do in our office right now?
I think it gave me the foundational ability to be able to deal with clients, meet with clients, communicate with clients. I always say that I'm very thankful for my opportunities in law school because it allowed me to, enhance my people skills, enhance my interpersonal skills, and work with clients. It did not prepare me for those situations that aren't, your normal power of attorney, your normal estate distribution. When I was in school, those are the cases they give you because you're learning. You don't have the experience to be dealing with all these different cases. So most of the cases that I was dealing with that I was doing pro bono were very run-of-the-mill paperwork, couple months long. The cases that we deal with, they're completely different. No two are the same. So I think that's something that has definitely kind of been interesting.
Okay. And just to further that point is, this is something that we do very specifically. And it just, when I do public events and you're doing some of those with me, you'll hear people say, oh, okay, well, that's good to know. I have an attorney, so I'll just go do that. And I was like, okay, but please understand, this is something that they don't teach in law school, and the vast majority of attorneys just simply don't understand what is entailed in this. I was on a phone call with one of my coaching clients on the way to the station, and she said a personal injury lawyer called her and said, hey, I've got this lady that is a friend of a client, and she's in the nursing home. I have no idea what to do. Can you help them? And she was like, yeah, we can. And so, just please, and I don't think all attorneys carry that mindset. So many times attorneys, and why people think all lawyers are rich, I don't understand that, because most lawyers I know are kind of like working every day trying to get to the next paycheck. And so, so many times attorneys will take pretty much anything that comes in. And what frustrates me is one of our number one goal, the number one attorney rule is only practice in cases that you know what you're doing. You should only give competent advice. You would think, well, duh, Todd, but I'm telling you, we have people come to us from talking with other attorneys, and they said, well, here's their plan. I'm like, that's not a good plan, okay? And here's why. It's like, and I know that I've mentioned this on this radio show or the TV show numerous times, is I'm like your mitral valve cardiac specialist. I focus on one thing so laser focused, and that's what our office does, is we are so focused just on very specific things, and we know it better than most. So, okay, I will say, 26 of my 27 years have been laser focused on this very specific issue. And it's not easy. The attorneys that I work with in coaching, I tell them, when you come in, it's going to be a year, okay? Give me a year. You're not going to learn this next month. And I had one person in Tulsa that I knew, and we were talking, and she said, I think I'll just study real hard for a weekend and I can do elder law. And I was like, okay, well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yes.
So bringing you into the firm, we are expanding our services some. Okay, I've known about guardianship. I've done guardianships. I've done probates. I just don't like to do it. I'm at this age and this point in my career, I don't want to do court anymore, okay? I don't want to put on a suit. I don't want to go spend half my day sitting in court waiting on a judge to call my case. But you think it's cool and fun and exciting, so talk about that just a little bit.
I do. A lot of the work that they allowed us to do in law school was probates and guardianships.
Okay.
Similar reasons. Tenured professors do not want to go to court, so they would send us. And at first, I really did not like it. I didn't like how combative it was. I didn't like the fighting. But as I kept doing it over time, I realized it's kind of a blessing to be a voice for people that need a voice. That's why I became an attorney in the first place. And I think that, you can do that sitting at a conference table solving problems, but you can also do that in court. And I think my goal is to kind of be the most multifaceted attorney that I can be. So when I reached out to Todd and he interviewed me and hired me, I told him that these are skills that I have and I want to enhance, as well as learning from him. So I think that adding probate and guardianships to your services is number one, great for him and his firm, but it's also great for me to be able to hone on those skills and also be kind of a voice for people that need us in that way. So that's something that I'm excited to do as we begin to offer those services.
Yeah, if you've heard me say we don't do probate or guardianship, we haven't up to this point, because Lauren, the other attorney in the office, she did that. She did that for like 10 years, and she was like, nope, not doing this anymore. I've done it, and I just don't like it. It's just not what I love to do, and I only want to do at this point in my life what I love to do, and I think I do that. But we were getting phone calls from people, sadly, and we'll talk about this after the break, but our goal is to avoid probate, okay? If our clients will listen to us, you don't have to go to court for their estate, or if they will sign powers of attorney, they don't have to go to guardianship court. But we are finding there's a lot of people who, I'll take care of it someday, and it's just someday comes and it's not done, and our only option is to go to court. And so I've always felt a little bad about not doing it, but not bad enough that I wanted to do it, okay?
Right.
So that's why when you came on, you're like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, fine, let's open that up and do it. And so I can foresee that possibly you will not want to do this forever, but at this point, we're doing it. And so if you know of someone, particularly if a person's getting older and they have dementia, and we could spend a whole show just on this topic, but I do want to encourage people that if you know someone and you've been diagnosed with dementia, it is very important that we get powers of attorney done, because if you don't do a power of attorney and then you fully become incapacitated, our only option is guardianship. We charge a few $1,000s for that. It's court, it's public record, it's time consuming, and there's a annual accounting every single year to the court. So it's an ongoing process, and you just don't want to do guardianship if we can avoid it. And we'll talk about after the break how we avoid that. And it's just I think it's the best job in the world. And so tell me, let's go into the break in just a minute or two. Talk about some of the things families need to do to try to, if someone's told them that they need guardianship, what is our position on that?
I think, we say that we're starting to provide probate and guardianship services. We kind of do that as a last resort. The goal is not to be doing probate and guardianship, but the goal is to be there as a safety net in case people need these kinds of services. I think the best recommendation that I would give to families is to get your powers of attorney done. We often say, Todd has taught me that anybody over the age of 18 needs a power of attorney, and so that when you become incapacitated, you have agents appointed to be able to do things on your behalf. And if you have backups to that and you have people designated to be able to do things on your behalf, we don't have to go to court, and we don't have to ask a judge that you have never met to appoint somebody to do things for you and do things on your behalf. So I think number one above powers of attorney would be communication. I think that's huge. I think a lot of clients that we've seen, they don't communicate, or again, they think that this time is far off and it can happen at any day. So I think number one is maybe kind of being a little bit more realistic. And then number two is definitely doing powers of attorney. I think that's as you say, the most important legal document, and I see it every day. It's like, oh, if we just had this document, we could avoid a couple $1,000s, public knowledge, being in court for the next couple years. So I think it's a really important document to have.
And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, I've done power of attorney and we're good, or I downloaded a power of attorney off the internet, we're good. There's a few things, and let me just go through those real quick. Your power of attorney, maybe not at 18 or 20, but if you're 50 or above, your power of attorney needs to be extremely comprehensive. It needs to let your agent be able to do just about anything that needs to be done. And that seems kind of scary when you first look at it. It's like, my agent can close my bank accounts, my agent can give away my money. At first glance, you may think, well, I don't want to do that. Why would I ever do that? But the reason is for guardianship. If someone's being scammed, we can go in and shut down that bank account so that you can't send money to these scammers anymore. If we're doing Medicaid planning, we want to be able to take your money and do things with it to get you qualified for Medicaid. So let's take a quick break. I want to come back afterwards and let's talk about some of the other specific documents that we do and how it's so important that those get done. So we will be back in just 1 second.
On Tuesday, November 18th, the City of Bella Vista will hold a special election. The City of Bella Vista would like to extend the current sales tax bond that is currently in place. A vote of yes is not an increase in our sales tax. With the passage of this vote, the City plans to secure bonds based on the promise of repayment with sales tax revenue. This is like a mortgage and a way for the City to borrow money and pay it back over time. This new bond would be used to pay off the existing debt, fund major long-term capital projects, free up current funds, and replenish city reserves, broaden the tax burden to tourists and out-of-town visitors, fund new capital improvements without raising taxes. If the ballot item to repay the existing debt does not pass, the city will face increased costs, delays, or cancellation of future much-needed projects. The city will need to use reserve funds to pay expenses and seek other financing options for these projects that could result in an increase for taxpayers. With the approval of this bond, first, Bella Vista will pay existing debt, $6.175 million for the remaining balance on the current sales tax bond, $5.12 million for the remaining balance on franchise fee bond. The city needs $8 million to complete the renovation of City Hall and the existing fire bays, and perform new construction of 2 fire bays, a gym, and office and storage space. The fire department needs $6 million to build a new fire station and a replacement fire truck, plus 2 ambulance remounts. The police department needs $3 million to install 3 radio towers and purchase and maintain new police cars for 2 years. The street department needs $6.1 million to cover the cost of 2 years of street resurfacing and to purchase replacement backhoe and excavator, plus a new grader and roller.
Hey there, welcome back. So I am with my guest today, Michaela Monaco. She is a new attorney working in my office. You may or may not want to talk about this. I would be proud if I graduated from the law school that you graduated from. So let the people know. Just it's not every day that we get to, have someone, particularly in Arkansas, who graduated from your law school.
I went to New York University. It's in Manhattan. I moved here in early July from New York City. So from the big city to Northwest Arkansas.
From New York to Arkansas. And just so our listeners know, that's a big law school. I mean, that is very difficult to get into. It's very prestigious. And when she emailed me, I was like, why is someone from NYU calling me? And so anyway, I was very impressed, and you should be very proud of that. So let's talk about, and I know our listeners have probably heard me talk about this numerous times, but I think it'll come differently from you. Let's talk about some of the very important documents people need to do. Planning ahead is always better than letting the Arkansas statutory law take effect or whatever, planning ahead is always better. Talk about that for me.
So I think something that we talk about a lot in our office is probate avoidance. I think that there are multiple ways to do it, and there's not a lot of attorneys that will lead with probate avoidance because probate makes them money, guardianship makes them money. So something that I speak with a lot, especially about our clients that come in for the first time and they want to know how we can help, is here's the goal, is to protect what you have and what you've worked for, to set you up for a comfortable life, and to make sure that once you pass, we avoid probate. Probate is long, it's expensive, it's public knowledge. We really don't want to go. We're offering those services, of course, but the goal is not to have to use those services.
Right.
So the first way that we kind of recommend avoiding probate is by doing beneficiary designations on things. So that's like adding beneficiary designations to bank accounts. That's also doing what's called a beneficiary deed on a home. There are certain documents that we can do and ways that we can guide clients to having beneficiaries on the things that they own. So when they pass, it just provides it to the beneficiaries outright.
Yeah, just there.
So for a lot of clients, that works. If they want to leave their things to their beneficiaries outright, or it's a very common distribution scheme, that's kind of the route that we go. It's a little bit cheaper to do that. The other route that we go is by doing a trust. So if you have minor children, or if you have maybe a more complicated distribution scheme, we recommend doing a trust. A trust gives you a little bit more control in identifying where you want your assets to go. So if maybe you don't have a common distribution scheme, or you don't want it going evenly, or you want to donate to an organization, that's kind of where we talk about doing a trust. So those are kind of the two routes that we take that each have their own set of documents where we can avoid probate and make sure that your assets will be protected after you pass.
And I think, so again, if you're sitting there at home thinking, okay, I've got a trust, I'm good. Nah, hang on a second. There's a few things that I see, from this area, particularly the Bella Vista area, that I see consistently is how the money is left to the children.
Absolutely.
Discuss that.
Sure. So something that I have noticed, obviously I'm still new to the team, but I've noticed about our trust versus other trusts is that when we create the trust, it has what's called testamentary language. So that means that if you have a trust that is written by us and you're leaving assets to beneficiaries, those assets are insulated from bankruptcy, divorce, and lawsuit. And there's very specific language that we put in our trust that protects that money as it's passed down. And I think that with most of the trusts that I've seen from others that are not us, the money is left outright. And I think that that's something that's kind of interesting, because if you wanted to leave it outright, you could do the beneficiary designations. So a huge reason to do a trust instead of doing the beneficiary designations is to insulate that money. So I think that's something that I found really interesting with a lot of the document reviews that we've done that's different from our documents.
It's a huge opportunity to leave money not only to your kids, but it's protected. You don't know what your kids are going to be going through at the time of your death. And I'm going to get a little sad here for just a second, but it's true. Working with families, not just early and then after they pass away, we work with families during that time period of long-term care and illness, and things are going on, and there's a lot of family dynamics that occur. And I have seen many times where parents are getting sick, and one of the children, typically a daughter, not always, but typically a daughter, is the one who moves in with the parents to keep them out of the nursing home, to save money for the family. And sometimes that family wants to leave money to that daughter, more money, because she quit her job. She sacrificed a lot to come in, and she's the one keeping this family together. And so many times after both parents pass away, the wife's like, I've done my job, and now she goes back home, and they're like, you're not welcome here. You abandoned us. Particularly the husband is saying, you've abandoned us. You spent these years with your family, not us. I want to file for divorce. I didn't want to do it while your parents were still alive. No, we're done. And so now the parents leave money to this daughter, maybe a larger portion, and if it's outright, it's going to be caught up in that divorce. And now you're leaving money to the husband who's leaving your daughter because she cared for you. It's a horrible situation. But with our trust, if that happens or anything similar to that happens, the money's going to go to the daughter in trust. She does not have to share it. The divorce court cannot come after it. It was not her money. The parents put those restrictions on there so that it is protected. And that's just one of those things that I've seen occur, and most attorneys don't do that. Mm-hmm. They are missing a huge opportunity to give a gift to the children that most attorneys don't do. And it frustrates me. If your kid's not good with money, you want them to benefit from the money. They probably need the money more than anyone, but if you give them control of it, poof, it's gone. Mm-hmm. We can leave it to the child and make sure that someone else is in control of it. So if this child, when this child gets their money, someone else is in control of it, and now they're paying for the dentist, they're paying for the tires, they're paying for it, but they're not blowing it on extravagant vacations and Corvettes or whatever. They are managing this money for the child, and that's a huge missed opportunity. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the other documents that we do. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about we did talk about financial power of attorney, which is important, and it needs to be very comprehensive. Mm-hmm. Let's also talk about some of the healthcare issues. I'm sure that was probably a surprise to you because I don't remember them focusing. It's like, hey, there's these documents, good luck. Right. But with our clients who are typically 60 and above, death and dying is very real to them. Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that very thankful to NYU. They did a really thorough job of telling us about healthcare directives. Good. That was a very central focus of the curriculum there. And I think that I was surprised when I started learning about our POA package and what we include in there. But more so about the importance of the documents, I think, is the conversation that we have with clients when we sit down and we hand them the documents and we ask them to think about, when you are at the end of your life, what do you want to happen? And I think that's a very hard conversation to have. And very often with our clients, we see that that's the point where things hit and things become real. And they're like, I'm not immortal. And I think it's those conversations that it's going to take practice over time. But I don't know, it's those conversations that make what we're doing great, is being able to be the person to sit there and break this information down and allowing them to have the space to, emotionally accept what's going on. So I think we often see that with the healthcare documents that we do. Okay. So healthcare power of attorney, we do that. With the living will, we do that. And I think that's a good opportunity for us to kind of speak with them about their end-of-life wishes.
And hospitals routinely, one of the first questions when you go in is like, do you have healthcare power of attorney? Do you have living will? Discuss the difference between those a little bit.
Sure.
I think people confuse those.
Yeah. So a healthcare power of attorney is basically the power that you give to somebody. That person is called your agent, and they have the ability to make medical decisions on your behalf. Our power of attorney package also includes a HIPAA release, and that allows your healthcare power of attorney to have access to your medical records. So I think that's a really important package that a lot of people don't understand, is just because you're a wife or you're a husband or you're a daughter doesn't mean that the doctors are going to give you information. Correct. That's why they ask you first, do you have a power of attorney? Who's the power of attorney? So I think that the healthcare power of attorney document is really helpful for that. A living will, often confused with a last will and testament, completely different document. A living will is the document that sees the light of day when a person is at the end of their life. Like, it's less than 6 months until you'll be passing away. There's certain conditions that need to be met. But it is the document that is shown to doctors that tells them how you'd like to be treated when it is the end of your time. So I think that's something that we also offer in our POA package, and that's something that we talk about with our clients is, do you want CPR? Do you want to be on a ventilator when it's past your point?
Feeding tube, IV.
Feeding tube, IV.
Chemotherapy, everything.
Minor surgery, major surgery, all that kind of things.
Yeah. I think people are, and that one document, the living will, is either the fastest document, well, the healthcare power of attorney is just, everybody wants that, they do it. So it's the second most, either longest or the shortest document. And it amazes me. Some people agonize over that. Every single procedure, they're like, I don't know, do I want chemotherapy?
Yeah, blood transfusion.
Blood, do I want med? Oh, man. And we can literally spend 30 minutes on this one form because they take it, I think everybody takes it seriously, but they agonize over everything. And then a lot of people are like, oh, I'm at the end of my life. Nope,
I don't want anything.
Done. Okay, so boom. Okay. And I would say 98% of everyone checks everything, says no feeding tube, no IV to hydrate you, and signs it. And it's done. But there are some people that are and hey, take your time, do what you need to do. It's your documents. This is your end of life, okay? And we want this to be done exactly the way that you want it. And I think one thing, maybe you've not come across this yet, but it is drastically important that your healthcare power of attorney have the same mindset that you do toward end of life. The healthcare power of attorney is not the end of life document, but it does give the person the power to decide what type of treatments to do, and it can then lead to the living will, which is it is now determined you're at the end of your life. Here's what's going to be done, but the power of attorney is very crucial. And if you don't want all of these things, but you name a healthcare power of attorney who can't let you go and is likely to put you on a feeding tube or a respirator, those two things don't agree with each other. And you've got to think about that. And not just, I know this sounds extremely self-serving, but when people download the documents off the internet, yes, they are saving a few $100s. But this is serious stuff, okay? This is your end of life, and I just went through this Sunday night with an aunt that I drove to Houston to be with her as she died, and I watched her die. The reason that went so well was because we were able to make sure that she had the documents in place. There was no question whatsoever. She was very adamant. At that point, I want God to just take me home. And so that's what we did. I told my cousin, call in hospice. Let's let this passing be as peaceful as we can, because we all knew that's what she wanted. It was in writing and we knew it. And I would love for that type of event to occur for every one of our clients. And that is our goal in our office. So any final thoughts?
I think it's important to remember that these conversations are hard. Like, these are not fun conversations to have with our clients.
What is on our conference table?
Tissues. Lots of tissues. And lots of notepads for note taking.
Yes, lots of tissues. But
I think, we always try to remind our clients that, life is hard and everybody works hard. And when you get to the point where you're starting to feel like maybe it's the end of your life, you want to start planning for it, it's important to remember that we are here for you. Like, these are your wishes, and all we're trying to do is honor them in a way that we can do as attorneys. So I think that's when clients get a little freaked out about a living will or, about letting go of some kind of control. We always try to remember we're doing these documents so you have control through to the point where you can no longer make decisions. So I think that's kind of something that's kind of a motive that we keep through our office.
Good. Thank you so much. Good job today. So I want you to understand, yes, we are lawyers. We do our stuff. But I think the people who get into elder law are people who are compassionate. And not that all lawyers aren't, but most people see lawyers as just fight and go get them. We sit down with our clients. We spend time with our clients. It's an hour-long meeting, and if you need another one, we'll do another one, because we want to do what you want. And please give us a call at 479-601-4119, 479-601-4119. Give us a call. We'll see you next time. Thanks.